The War Dog himself, Wardlow, had a huge championship win this week on Dynamite, winning the TNT title, confetti, the whole 9 yards. This was the anointing of Wardlow as the man. This is the start of big, big things and his push towards being a megastar. We all saw this coming, right? Wardlow is a talent that I think has a huge career ahead of him. He's at least a Batista level. I really do think that. He's getting better on the mic a little bit. I've just noticed from the interviews that he's been doing that, some of them started off really rough, like almost as bad as fucking Rex Steiner, Braun Breaker's interviews are the worst. But like Wardlow was pretty stiff and stale, and he's starting to kind of come out of his shell a little bit. Take a listen to this clip. Wardlow was on the Busted Open podcast with Dave LaGreca, and Mark Henry was there as well. And they interviewed Wardlow right after his big title win, and hear it from the man's mouth himself. How did he feel about winning the big one, or the medium-sized one? Check out this clip.
Well, take us back to Wednesday. So take us back to that moment. The match is over. You've won that championship. Like you said, you're getting buried in confetti. Like, what's going through your mind in that moment?
So actually, when Mark talking about watching it back, I did watch it back last night. And you can see when he counts 1, 2, 3 and the bell rings, you can genuinely see like this shocked look on my face, like this moment of realization of what just happened. Because I'm just so used to, at this point, I'm almost programmed, power bomb, foot on the chest, 1, 2, 3, arm raise, hit the corner, pose, leave. So this time I hit the 1, 2, 3, and then I'm like, why isn't he raising my arm? And then I was like, oh shit, he went to go grab the championship. That's mine now. And like, it just hit me like, holy shit, I just won the title. And you see it on camera actually just come over my face, that moment of realization. So God, that felt amazing. It just, there wasn't enough time for me to stand out there and celebrate with the fans, with the confetti and the pyros and the reception they gave me. I wanted to stand out there for another hour and absorb all that.
I love the humbleness from Wardlow. I love that he felt that shit. Like, he was genuinely emotional. He says the reaction on his face was his actual reaction, and that he didn't even sink in till he was waiting for the referee to hold his hand up, and he wasn't there, and he's like, oh shit, he's going to get my title. I want a fucking title. I want a title. I want a title. That's how I would be. Like Liv Morgan, you see her when she's got that picture taken of her just like laying with the belt. Like, I'd be a fucking mark for the belt. Of course I would. Jesus Christ, I'm a belt mark as it is. If I was rich, I'd have a copy of every single replica belt that they have. You know what I mean? I'd be buying them all. I'd be trying to collect real ones like Conrad. He's a big belt mark too. A lot of us are, right? Belts are cool as shit. So it's awesome that Wardlow appreciated that moment, and that he's, understands where he's at. He's being humble about it. Mark Henry's almost trying to tell him to not be humble. He's almost like, all right, now you're the man. Now people are going to start to check you and try you and push you a little bit. Now you got to kind of take your spot and be like, I'm the man. This is how it's going to go. How Mark Henry's kind of trying to coach him up. But I like that. I like that Wardlow is being humble. I like that he appreciates this. He fucking deserves it. Not in the sense that he's like the best talent in the world or anything. He's not setting the world on fire, but when you look at like the homegrown AEW talent, and there's a handful of them that they've pushed already, and then there's some that you're just like, you're looking at and you're like, this motherfucker's gonna be a star someday. I look at a Jade Cargill too, and she's another example. Like, she's green as shit still, but she has that. And that's why she's winning over fans, not to turn this into the Jade Cargill clip, but same with Wardlow, you know. This is why they're getting over. This is why they're getting the fan support, because the fans, not that they're not Bryan Danielson out in the ring or anything, and even Wardlow's promos are kind of meh, you know what I mean? But we see them getting better, and we've all been fans long enough to know what makes a star. And we can just one look at a Wardlow, at a Jade Cargill, and you're like, these motherfuckers are gonna be mega stars. The way that they're built, the way that they look, the way that they carry themselves, they just ooze star power, even if they don't have it all together yet. They're brand new to the business. They're fresh. They're green. They're only like a couple years in. Wardlow's got a little bit more indie experience, but we see them progressively getting better, even though they're not where they need to be yet. We can see, like, okay, they're progressing, and they look the part, and they're homegrown, and we want to support that. We want to see the next megastar rise up, and this did have Goldberg-esque. He's got a lot of Goldberg, and they're doing it on purpose. You know, the following Wardlow to, you know, from the back hallways out to the arena. Clearly, you know, when he had the security with him and stuff too, it was a different spin on the Goldberg presentation, but that's what they were trying to incite those vibes, you know what I mean? They were trying to kind of bring you there mentally without being a direct ripoff of it. And this win was similar to when Goldberg beat Raven for the United States Championship. Do you remember that? On WCW Nitro? Now, I'm not saying Wardlow is going to be the next Goldberg and he's going to be that huge of a megastar, but he certainly has that potential. You can't look me dead in the eye and say, no, that's never possible. You know what I mean? And this seemed like that first big step. Like Wardlow won his first championship. Goldberg, when he won his first championship, and it was fantastic. So, and it was just the next step of the rise. You know, Wardlow's going to work his way up to a world title level, and when he does, like, I honestly see him becoming like a Batista level talent. I really do. He's got the body for it. I don't think he's not gonna be a Goldberg. I don't think he's gonna be like a Rock or anything like that. He doesn't have the personality or the charisma for it. But this interview on Busted Open was, I was surprised that, you know, I remember the last time I listened to a Wardlow interview, which might have even been on Busted Open, he was a lot more rigid. Either just not used to it, you know, he's a little kind of cold and awkward and quiet and giving like short answers and really making them work as an interviewer. You know, when you got somebody that's an awkward interview, you got to kind of carry that shit, you know what I mean? And that's, you know, I watched Sean Ross Sapp suffer through an interview with Braun Breaker one time. It was just like, oof, it was so rough, man, so rough. But he'll come along, and Wardlow's coming along. He was more likable in this interview, more charismatic. He was more talkative. He just seemed more comfortable. I'm not saying he oozed megastardom necessarily in his charisma and his personality, but he was humble. He was kind. He was cool. And he seemed more relaxed and comfortable and more open to talking and just kind of in the hang of this kind of stuff now, and more comfortable in his own skin, because a guy coming up like Wardlow on a major platform, you know, national TV, doesn't necessarily know how to, you know, how do you play this role? Do I kayfabe necessarily? You know, do I talk in character all the time? Like, how do I present myself to the media? And I think he's figuring that out. And apparently, right before we wrap this up here on the Wardlow tip, apparently they also talked about, and I'd heard this in another source, saw it in an article or something out on the internet, that he did like a toy signing or just a signing in general at like a comic book store or some shit like that, and the line was like fucking ridiculous, way out the door. LaGreca said he was there, and that it was the longest line he'd ever seen for anybody at that particular store, and he'd been there for other wrestlers before. Wardlow mania, I guess. I didn't even know that he was that over. But damn, good for him. And so far he deserves it. And I'm interested to see how much further he's gonna go. And just being such a long-term wrestling fan that I am, and I'm sure a lot of you can recognize the same thing. I see that star power in Wardlow, and he's going to be a big, big deal in this business for years and years to come. Hey, thanks for checking out that clip. Don't forget to check out other clips here on the channel. And while you're there, throw a like, throw a subscribe. And don't forget to check out full episodes each and every Sunday of the Pro Wrestling Podcast.